Hello, everyone. Hi, guys. We already have a whole bunch of people in the chat. If you'd like to join us, it's punishedprops.com/live. We'll have all the information to join. And get in the chat room and ask questions and share all the cool stuff you're working on. I love seeing all your progress pictures, especially since I don't have time to make too much anymore, so I live vicariously through all of you. Let me know if anything looks weird or sounds weird. I just set up everything. Without Bill around, this could get a little technical difficulty like. All right, let's do this. Where's the camera? Right there? All right. Whoop. Whoop. Hey guys, welcome to Prop Live. This is live from the shop with Britt Duran. Bill is off in Manila in the Philippines at a convention there called Asia PopCon. And while he's there, I get to have all the shop to myself and work on very exciting things. By very exciting, I mean I have a laundry list of all the things that Bill left me to do. And one of them is to sling some resin. So I'm going to be doing that. And join me on this awesome adventure. Hello to everyone in the chat. It's good to see you. I know our schedule's been a little off lately. It's convention season, which means that we are hardly ever in the shop and we're usually traveling. So it's good to be back. It's good to next week we'll probably be on a normal schedule as well and do a normal Prop Live Q&A. So I'll be working, but I'll also be answering questions as well. It'll be really informal. I should be able to pay attention to the chat, but we also have the, what is it called? The Q&A app in the Google Hangout. And where is it? I think it's up above the video there. It's a little grid icon. If you click on that, there's a little Q&A button. You click on that, and then you can ask a question. And it will sit there and probably be accidentally ignored for a while because I don't have much room on this tiny little monitor. Camera is fuzzy looking. It's very fuzzy. Not on YouTube, just Google. Google is fuzzy looking. I wonder if I need more light. If I turn this on, it's like the surface, yeah, the surface of the sun. So I will not do that and just try moving this light over. Or I could just point up like this and we can tell scary stories. So one time I was using a bandsaw and it broke. I almost pooped myself. It was terrifying. Not the whole bandsaw, just the blade. That was sounded like the whole thing broke. All right. By the way, these lights are great. There's little can lights. There's a couple bucks and they kind of fall apart when you use them, but you can clamp them anywhere. Let's move this. And now I'm blind. Oh, yeah. If you're watching through YouTube, there's no way to get to the Google Hangout Q&A, which is weird because they're kind of all owned by the same people, and yet they don't work together. We'll get a better system in the future for questions. If you also in the chat, if you type punished props, all one word, and ask your question, it will show up in a different color for me, and I should see it and be able to answer questions there as well. Red Jack's here, yay! And we have good old Bio Cosplay and Brooks Creations. Cool, and Phoenix Revival. This is great. All our regulars are here. Awesome. Let me turn this up a little. There we go. Okay. Let's try camera number 2. This is almost too bright. Although this is white, so it looks super blown out. All right. So have you guys ever heard of kit trading? It's a popular thing that prop builders get addicted to. It's where you have a kit of something that you've made that you can make copies of, usually a silicone mold, and one of your prop friends sees it and says, I want that. I'll trade you one of my castings from one of my kits. So you guys swap kits. So like one has a space gun, one has a sword, and you swap them. And then both of you, neither of you have time to paint it or do anything with it, and it sits on a shelf. But you get props from all your friends that way. So I believe that's why I'm casting a Carnifex right now. I think it's going to one of Bill's buddies, and we're probably going to get something in return that will sit on our shelf and get painted someday. Maybe this winter is the plan. Bill asked, how do you type with boxing gloves on? Dear Strong Rad, how do you type with boxing gloves on? For the two of you that will get that reference. And also, I will probably get to casting, by the way, so this Carnifex mold, let's hold it up. This thing is a good couple years old. I think it was just normal tin cure silicone, and parts of it are tearing. So it'll be an adventure to try and get a cast out of it. I also have an even older mold of a dagger from Skyrim over here. It's cool to see how Bill's improved with his mold making, because he's made all these, and this is like one of his first ones he's ever made. And it's in pretty bad shape, but I'll try and get a casting out of that too. I mean, what could go wrong, really? Boop. All right. So this mold, I keep calling it the Carnifex. It's also the Paladin. It's from Mass Effect. Oh, it's huge. If I cast this solid, it's pretty heavy. So Bill left, in the box I found this mold in, he left cryptic instructions on how to put a little insert into the gun. It's this little cardboard cutout thing. And I assume it goes like that. So this is a template, and I saw a little size written down that said 3/4 of an inch. So I took some insulation foam and traced the template onto it. And where's the camera? Oh, there it is. So this is cut insulation foam, and I just kind of glued it into the rough shape. It's pretty close. I imagine I'm going to have to sand the corners a bit too. I think I remember him doing that. So that'll go in like that. Boop. So because I'm adding this insulation foam insert, it's going to be way lighter. This will knock a couple pounds off of it, I hope. And also use less material. Let's see. I think it goes like that. Let's see if that even touches. That seems pretty good. So what I'll do is first I'll just get a bunch of this dust in there, which is great. For my first layer of resin, I'm just going to pour in a little thin layer in here and slush it around. And as it's curing, I'll set my little piece of foam on it on one side. Maybe pour some more on top of it, so it's kind of locked in there. And then I'll close it up and fill the remaining cavity, I think is the plan. Oh, there he is. Yeah, I was wondering if Bill would say that. Round over the edges on the front bottom part. I'm guessing, oh, where the barrel goes. That makes sense, because the barrel's a round part, so I have to round off this guy. How dark would it be if I turn this light off? Oh, that's way better. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to sand off the little edges here with just our little 220. Our little fancy sander holder things. Sanding blocks? Yeah, I think they're called sanding blocks. All right. Let's get dust all over the table. No need to pour any on top. All right. I'm so glad Bill's here to help. Yeah, if you ever have to make a base, especially anything curved or organic, insulation foam works really well. It sands great. It's just, it has no sturdy structure at all. Like I could just snap this super easily. But when it's encased in resin, it doesn't matter if it's brittle or not. Yeah, definitely. If you're working a lot with this stuff, its particles are lighter than air and will float around. So wear a respirator. You do not want to breathe this stuff in, just like anything else in the shop. All right. Yeah, these molds are super old. The part below and under the barrel needs to be rounded over or else it'll touch down on the mold. The part below and under the barrel. This one? I'll just sand that until you yell at me to stop. I was so spoiled. I cut all this out with a bandsaw. It took like 2 seconds. It was awesome. It needs to be pretty thin. Oh gosh, this is really just a trick to get me to sand, isn't it? My goodness. All right, I'm switching to the higher grit. I hope we're getting something good in return for this scraggly old mold casting. Do. Oh, Reject's letting us know that you can turn on a notification noise for your IRC chat channel. That's something I've seen abused, so I leave it turned off because once people realize it makes a noise, they kind of trigger it on purpose to be goofy trolls. And then it's like constant noises. Because we're not allowed to have nice things. That's kind of close to the bottom there. I'm just gonna sand this part down. This sandpaper seems more like paper. I think it's seen better days. All right, that's good enough. I'm bored. Moving on. This is why I can't be trusted with sanding. All right. Okay, so this mold, I think it was originally made from silicone, tin cure silicone from tap plastic. Tap plastic. When you have a mold that's been, geez, I don't even know how many copies are made out of this. Sometimes on the jacket we put tally marks. Let's see. No tally marks. It's a mystery how many have been cast. Oh, wait. Oh, no. These are directions. So when you make a mold, especially a bigger one, it's good to keep track of how much resin you end up using to fill it because you'll forget. So Bill left me some little notes on how much resin to use, which is awesome. But also, when you've used a mold, geez, I don't know, it's probably been like 30 or 40 cast out of this back in the day. We hardly cast out of it anymore because I don't know if you can see, anywhere that has these really sharp 90-degree angles, the silicone has gotten really dry and it started tearing. So there's little chunks missing. So these are all recesses, so you don't really notice them, and you can Dremel them out because they're going to be little protrusions in your little crevices. But some of these are getting really bad. Like this long strip here, watch, I can move it. It's not attached to the bottom anymore. It just wiggles around. So there's a good chance that this will have trouble pulling out of the resin when I pull the resin out of that silicone. The silicone will want to stay in the crevices and then it will tear. That's kind of how these have fallen apart. What I did earlier today was I sprayed the inside of this mold with mold release. This stuff over here. Boop. Yeah. This is normally used when you're doing a 2-part mold and you want to spray this on one side of silicone before you pour your other side, or else the 2 sides of silicone will come together and be one. So this will stop that, but it is also a good way to rehydrate your mold. It's like a shampoo commercial. You want to make sure if there is a lot of excess after you spray it in there to wipe it away. I think I got most of it already, but we'll take a look at it. It's just like if you get a big chunk of like a gooey spot in there, it will kind of create a little void where the resin won't be able to get into, or it might cause some curing inhibitions. But I think I got most of it out. This is a really dry mold. It's what happens when you do lots and lots of castings, and we like to use baby powder when we do our resin castings. So you sprinkle the baby powder in here and it makes it so that there are less surface bubbles and that the resin gets a nice smooth finish. But this will dry out your mold. So it's like a cycle. You do, let's say you have a brand new mold, you do a couple of castings with baby powder each time, and then your mold starts to dry out, and then you hit it with this, let it sit for a couple hours, and then clean up the extra, go back to the baby powder, and then rinse and repeat to extend the life of your mold. You don't need to do this as much with platinum cure, it seems like. They don't dry out as fast, but that's my very limited experience in mold making, seeing as how these are all ones Bill made. Bill is going off to the convention. Yeah. Aw, I hope he has fun. All right. So to recap, if you've just joined us, I'm going to be casting a kit of the Mass Effect, I guess, I keep wanting to say hand cannon. I've been playing too much Destiny. But it's one of those pistols. It can be painted to be either the Paladin, which is a white one, or the Carnifex, which is like a grayish-green one. But I'm just making a kit, and then we're shipping it off to one of Bill's friends. So I get to do all that while Bill's away. Yeah, there's a couple of really good mold releases out there. This is the only one I've tried on actually rehydrating a mold. This one, there's so many broken bits on it. All right, I'm gonna go grab the compressed air. I just accidentally got a whole bunch of styrofoam dust from this guy inside the mold. I put the air compressor in the other room because it's stupid loud, but I'll just drag the cord in here. All right. It's really neat to see how much Bill has learned from all the molds he's made. This is a really thin jacket he made out of, I think it's PVC foam board. And he's like, oh, this will totally work to sandwich the two together. It's so thin, and you pour in so much resin that it buckled and started oozing out. So it looks like he added some extra strength brackety things and stuff like that. So I'll have to figure out how to put that all together. But it looks like it's labeled pretty well. Usually you want thicker wood pieces for your jacket if you're just going to use like little sandwich boards. So thicker pieces of wood are good to go for that. Dust mask. All right, I'll go get my dust mask. By go get it, I mean it's right behind me. I want to make sure the protective tools that you use are in good places around your shop, so you're not too lazy to get them. Like we have those ear protection things right on top of our bandsaw, just clamped to the top of it, so that we have no reason not to use them when we use the bandsaw. All right. And then I get to put in baby powder, and that makes the shop smell very lovely. Okay. I have Kirby's Adventures stuck in my head because I was playing that yesterday. Ooh, a prototype costume. That sounds like the best kind. All right, well, I might as well put this in here. Whoop. There's also not nearly as many registration keys as Bill uses now. Should be a lot more, and like more room around the edges, some more silicone. But you live and you learn. You realize what you can get away with and what kind of you need extra room for to make sure your mold doesn't buckle or ooze out. Ah, there we go. I'm going to use the compressed air again to spray the extra dust out of here, but I'm not going to do it on top of the workbench because it'll get everywhere. You can see the difference. I'll just get rid of all that extra stuff. Ta-da! These guys are prepped. All right. Let's see. It looks like when Bill did the 2-part mold for this, he split it right down the middle. So I don't think it matters which side I put this styrofoam into. The insulation foam, sorry. So I'm just going to do it in side A. One of the things I know Bill regrets is there's this fine little hash mark detail. Where's the camera? There it is, right there. So that detail, he split right down the middle. So there's half of this detail on one side and half on the other, which means that there's a seam that you have to clean up, which is a super pain every time you do a kit of this to clean up that little seam. What we should have done was on one of the sides that you clay up, you would clay all the way up to the other side of the hash mark thing. So it's not, perfectly one side or another. One side is higher, but that way your seam will be like on this little edge up here instead of halfway through the middle where there's a super annoying seam. It's a bummer. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, it won't be that bad. And then when you're trying to like clean up kits to paint, you have regrets. If you don't get the extra baby powder out, it just will stay in the corners. A really big offender is the Dragon Priest mask. It has some really deep corners and the resin won't be able to go into it. So there will just be a void. So when you pull out your piece, it looks like there was a bubble caught in the corner, but it's not a bubble. It was just a pocket of baby powder. Or if you're doing a cold casting, a pocket of metal dust. So you want to make sure you get it all out of there. You don't really have to use compressed air on it. I like to because I don't trust myself to get it all out. But you can just turn the mold upside down and hit it a bunch. Tap on it a whole bunch to get everything out. All right. If I'm working with cold casting metal, I do not use air compressing stuff. I don't blow metal dust all around the shop. For one reason, you don't want that all over your shop. You don't want metal dust to breathe in, but also for cold casting, you want to keep that nice layer of metal powder. Keep a nice layer of it. With a baby powder, you just want a nice little fine layer. All right. Oh, so you guys are working on so many cool projects. It makes me so happy. All right. Let's see. So I guess since Bill's gone, we can start drinking. So hopefully if it's evening where you guys are, you all have a beverage too. This is New Belgium Fat Tire. It's just a nice mild amber. It's a little bit of a sweeter beer, but it's very nice. All right. On today's episode of Prop Live, we'll be using Smooth-On's Smoothcast 300. It's a good old standard resin. You have a couple minutes working time with it, so it's not crazy hard to deal with. It's not really good for slush casting so much unless you have patience. So I know we've done that recently, but you just have to slush for a really long time. We have a smooth cast onyx fast, and that's too fast. Like I don't even want to put it in for the first layer of this guy because it kicks in like under a minute. So as you're mixing it, it's kicking. So make sure before you do stuff that you mix it all up. Also make sure the cap's on tight. You dual wield, especially part B, which is for smooth cast is usually the blue one. Yeah, part B. This is usually where all the bits are that will cause curing inhibition. So make sure that's mixed up really well. Shock top. Shock top's pretty good. I call Shock Top the gateway beer. It's kind of replaced, was it Leinenkugel, where it's kind of like a citrusy beer usually. But Shock Top has come out with a whole bunch of different flavors recently, like pumpkin spice and cranberry. And so if you normally don't drink beer, it's a good one to get used to before you have, normal actual beer. But I don't really drink Shock Top anymore since I like the stronger beers now. And I haven't played any Destiny because I'm waiting till Bill gets home. But also I've already played all of the Taken King anyway back when I worked at Bungie. But I bet there's some new awesome stuff in it because geez, last time I tested was like 6 months ago. It's probably all different now. All right. When working with resin, make sure you have lots of paper towels on hand in case something horrible happens. Also, make sure you're not working in a carpeted area, because if that gets on the floor, there's no getting it out. Alcoholic root beer. That sounds amazing. All right. I wonder if I can. Yeah, I'll do this. This is awesome cord that you're going to have to deal with. Oh, what if I do this? There. Okay. So I got my mixing cups. These are, I think we just bought these online somewhere in a giant jumbo pack, but they're nice because they have these little, like little pour spout triangles on them, and they have the measurements. And also they're a really strong plastic. So once your resin is done curing in here, you can bend it and pop the resin back out so you get brand new cups again. So you actually don't go through too many of these unless you use like sticky stuff that never dries. Then it's a pain to clean and you'll probably throw them away. But yeah, these guys are awesome. So I know Bill usually skips all these steps, but I'm always paranoid about screwing up. So I always mark all my containers. This doesn't write well at all on this. Sharpie Magnum permanent marker. This does not write well on plastic. Let's try normal Sharpie. Nah, they're both the same. Whatever. A. So that's side A, and this is side B. And if you're wondering if I have done a lot of casting from silicone molds in my time, the answer is yes. I was one of the fulfillment people for Bill's Kickstarter he did a while back for his space gun. So a lot of the molds for that, I did like 80 pulls out of them before they started breaking. And that kit had like, I don't know, like 6 pieces because it was a space gun that could break down into different parts. So I've done a lot of casting. I just haven't done a lot of mold making. I've seen how molds fail. Haven't made a lot of my own though. All right. Banana beer. Now, I've had beer that tastes like banana bread, not intentionally. It just kind of was its characteristics. but it is the season for pumpkin beer. My favorite pumpkin beer, because a lot of them say they are, but they're just like, they taste like normal beer. So it's kind of like if I want pumpkin beer, I want it to be more like pumpkin pie. The Elysian Brewing Company, Elysian, or whatever it's called. Elysian Brewing Company, all their beers are kind of themed after Greek gods. Let's see if I can find it. My favorite beer from them this time of year is called the Night Owl. Yeah, there it is. Boop. And this beer, especially if you can get it on tap or on nitro, so it's like a milkshake consistency, this tastes just like pumpkin pie, and it's awesome. So that's my favorite pumpkin ale for the pumpkin-y seasons. Yeah, I like all their stuff. Oh, no, is it Elysian? Wait, yeah, there we go. Elysian. I get all their names mixed up. That's one of the things Seattle's known for is all their bajillions of breweries, where we almost have as many as Portland. I get them all mixed up. But I'm also spoiled because of that. All right, Bill's cryptic notes. Let's see. Side A, side B. Okay, so he wants me to pour 100 milliliters on each side. So I should mix up 200 and then pour half in one and half in the other. Slush them both around, and when they're curing, I will add foam to one side. Cool. That makes sense. All right. So I'm going to mix 100 part A and 100 part B, which will make 200, and that means 100 will go on one side, 100 will go on the other after I mix it together. Things they don't tell you about, like having to do math. Yesterday, I had to look up how to find the height of a tetrahedron. Math follows you everywhere. All right, I'm marking, what was that, 100 on each side? Why does it go from 90 to 110? That's so stupid. Ugh. I mean, these cups are awesome. Oh, I mean, tell. I am marking where I am pouring this stuff to, because I will not be able to see it. And the neat thing about that is when you mark it, you can actually see it from the inside when you're pouring, so you don't have to like lean down and look. Okay. Time to get moving. Well, that just made a mess. I was trying to be all cool, and I just spilled some. It's all right. For some reason, I don't know. I always have extra of part A. Maybe it's because I normally don't spill everywhere. All right. Part B is more viscous. It kind of stays in the container. So if you don't tip up when you're pouring it, if you don't leave your cup like you're pouring it, and you rush with the part B and then tip it up too soon, it will the viscous layers will pool in the bottom, and you'll realize you missed a couple milliliters of it. So I think that's why I usually go through more of this, more of part B, or at least it gets wasted. I want giant resin containers that have those like laundry detergent pour spouts on them that are on the bottom. I know they make them. Perfect. There we go. Yeah, I've never been good at math, but I always use it. I really like how Google has all of, if you just start searching for formulas, we'll have a little kind of like menu system that pops up. You don't even have to go to a website. You can use their own formulas and calculators. Because I don't trust myself to do it in my head. I don't do it enough. But I was always bad at math in school. I think think all the art stuff took up all the math parts of my brain. Okay. I don't know if this person is going to want a kit of Paladin or Carnifex, so I guess I will just tint this resin gray. If I leave it alone the way it is now, it's going to kick bright white. But gray is a good base color, so if paint does chip off of it, it'll look almost like a silver. So it's not a noticeable color. So for that, I use the So Strong tint. It's a liquid urethane colorant. And a little bit of this goes a really long way, and don't get it on your hands unless you want it to stay there forever. All right. And you want to put this in the side B and mix it up. Actually, do I want to pour this? Do I want to pour this in the thing? I always hate using multiple cups. I think I'm going to get... No, I'm only making one of these. It's fine. I'm pouring it straight in the side B. If I was going to crank out a couple of these kits, I would use a third container for my resin, but since I'm only doing one of these, it doesn't matter. And the Sharpie rubs right off the cup, so if I don't use them for side A and or part A and part B later, it's fine. All right, cool. So I'm gonna mix up the part B and get that all nice and mixed before I add the A so that the tint's already all mixed in, or else you'll end up with these grayish black swirls, which can look cool, but I do not want them. All right, popsicle stick. And if you don't want any of this on your hands, you should just use rubber gloves, but I think we're out of them. Also, I'm too lazy to put on rubber gloves. So right now it looks like it's going to end up being solid black, but since the resin kicks white, it will make this a really light gray. When I mix, I like to keep my popsicle stick touching the bottom of the cup and kind of do little swirly motions because you don't want to introduce a lot of air. If you try and whip it like an egg beater blender, you're just going to have more bubbles in your resin. And I always like to scrape the sides. The sides get left out and usually have parts of the tint just stuck to them. Okay, that looks pretty good. Actually, how big are these cups? Will 200 even fit in here? Where's the 200 line? Oh yeah, that'll fit. That'll be pretty full though, but okay, here we go. Doop-a-doop-a-doo. Now, since I'm just using 2 cups, I don't have to worry about pouring my part B into a different container, making sure I get all of it. This is now my pouring container for the whole mold. All right, so for the Smoothcast 300, I know that I can mix it until the sides start feeling warm. Once they start feeling warm, I know I'm running out of time. And I always scrape the sides because that's where the curing inhibitions also happen, because you'll get, like, since this was a part B cup, there's part B on the sides of the container and part A in the middle, and you want to make sure that they all mix. Make sure you're scraping the bottom as you go too. All right, it is getting warm. All right, so now I'm just going to eyeball half of this in one side and half in the other. And I always like to try and pour it in a spot. A low spot, and then I'll swish it around a little bit more. And the bigger batch of resin that you make, the faster it will kick. It's a chemical reaction, so the heat, intensified heat, makes it kick crazy fast. So you want to make sure you get this spread out as fast as possible. All right, now let's hilariously watch me pour resin all over myself. Yep, there it goes. I'll go back to that side in a second. I just want to make sure this one gets all spread out. Because once you get a nice skin over everything, it takes much longer to kick. So you have more working time. Good job, me. You really want to make sure you don't get resin on the sides of a two-part mold, because then it won't fit back together as nicely. So you can just like brush that off. Totally professional. I think I've only cast one of these guys before. It was for the, I think it was for Desert Bus. We had one of these made for the Desert Bus charity. Or no, you know what? It was for, I think it was for London Super Comic Con. They had a silent auction, and I think the proceeds went to a charity. And I cast up that one that ended up being a paladin for that. Oh, geez. At least when this starts curing, I can peel out any stuff I got everywhere. All right, and I know I still have some working time because, oh wait, nope. Yeah, it's still moving. Once it starts turning color, once it starts turning a lighter color, it's, yeah, you can see it in this one. This guy. See his light colors starting to form? That's it's kicking, and now it's there forever. There it goes. It's like magic. Magic and science. Well, that could have been a disaster, but it turned out all right. You can see that this side kicked faster than this side because it had a little more resin in it. And that's all it takes to make it kick faster, but this side's starting to go too. So since this one has a little bit more in it, it's probably where I'm going to put the foam. I didn't get resin up on these guys, though. I assume that matters. Looks like it's going to touch there. Maybe I'll mix a teeny bit more and pour it over these little spots. I think it will be the plan. Oh, wait. Maybe Bill's notes say to do that. Let's see. I don't know why this is written twice. Oh, so I do another layer just like this before I add the foam. Okay, cool. So never mind. Not a smaller batch, same amount. This is what I get for talking while working. All right, I guess I do need another side B container. That was silly of me. For some reason, it didn't occur to me that I'd have to do a whole bunch of layers of resin with this, because my attention is split. And that's all right. I just have to make sure I don't do anything stupid. All right. There are some good questions in the Q&A app that I've seen building up. I'll answer those after I do the next layer of resin. Yeah, see, it's all solid gray now. If I had left this, like if I had to go do something and then went and poured another layer of resin like hours later, the layers wouldn't adhere together as well. So I want to make sure when you're doing multiple layers, like if you're slush casting or something, just make sure to pour them all within, you know, like 15 minutes of each other. I actually don't know when it starts going bad. Boop. One trick that we learned recently that I should have picked up on a long time ago is that, let's say you're doing a whole bunch of kits of this gun and you want them all to be like gray, might as well put the tint straight into the part B container, like squeeze in a whole bunch of it and mix it up. So that way you don't have to add tint into every single pour that you do. But since I'm just doing a one-off, I won't do that. Okay. So exciting. This is really just an excuse to get all you guys together to chat about your awesome projects, since I'm just standing here stirring a thing. One of the other things I've learned not to do when you are stirring up your resin is to not scrape the popsicle stick at the very last second into the container, because there's a lot of not quite mixed stuff on this stick. So you just want to set it aside, and then you can clean it off to reuse it again if you want. Last thing you want to do is scrape a bunch of unmixed resin into the middle of your resin that you're pouring. That would be a bummer. All right. This one should be easier to slush since there's a nice layer there already. All right. All right, I'll be more gentler with this. Ah, went out the pour spout. It's one of those things where it takes a couple casts of a mold to really get to know your mold. So this one, since I've only ever done one, I don't, yeah, there we go. I poured it up over the side. I don't know the quirks of it yet. So I poured up over the side of this. I could let this cure a little bit and peel it off. I'm just gonna wipe it off. Okay, so now I'm gonna put the foam in one side. All right, I'll answer some questions. Hopefully, without Bill here, your quality of answers goes downhill fast. But I'm sure the chat will chime in if I get something wrong. Okay. Tips for painting EVA foam white. For my She-Ra costume, I used EVA foam and craft foam of different thicknesses, and I used white Plastidip. And that was all the painting I did. I just left it straight white. The problem with Plastidip is it only, like, if you want to like paint on top of the Plastidip, it's a rubber, so the paint doesn't stay very well. And then if you try and like put a whole bunch of paint on top of Plastidip and then add Plastidip clear over it, it doesn't like to stick to it. Plastidip only really likes to stick to itself. So for my She-Ra costume, I did a little bit of battle damage and did a little bit of acrylic paint in the corners. And just a little bit of that paint worked fine. But if I did do any kind of like logos or anything on it, I think it would have a hard time staying. It would probably rub off. That's the only experience I have with painting it white. If you want it to be shiny, Plastidip always has that kind of texture to it. There's a glossifier you can get that Plastidip makes, and it makes it, kind of gives it like a shinier coat on the outside, but because it's still a little bit textured, it will never look like Stormtrooper armor. It won't get that smooth. For that kind of stuff, you really just have to lay on non-flexible layers of things like Epsilon or wood glue, and add a whole bunch of layers of that and sand it down to get a nice smooth finish. And you can paint it whatever color you want, and then it'll be smooth and shiny, but it won't be flexible. So it's one of those trade-offs. Oh, I didn't select the question. There, select question, answered. Cool. Some reason I'm having trouble seeing who, oh, there we go, never mind. Sorry, last person, I didn't see your name because my window was too small before. Okay, Motive Prop says, hey Britt, so I'm going to start making the new Destiny swords. Ah, I saw pictures of those. And the blade is only held on by 2 little dowel rods. I was wondering how you would go about making that little more sturdy. Also want to do swappable blades. I was thinking about magnets. I'll have to look up the picture. That model wasn't even in the game back when I was there. New Destiny swords. No, I'm just getting the Hive swords. Search tools last week. Google image search is the best. There are search tools. You can change the size of the image, and you can say time, anytime just the past week. Sword. Oh, these look so cool. 2 dowels. So this one doesn't look like dowels. Here, I'll switch over to the web browser. Yeah, Mod Podge is also another kind of, what are they called? PVA glues. It's like wood glue, but a little more flexible. I like Mod Podge. Mine always stays a little bit tacky for a little while, but I have such a cool looking sword. Where's the one that's held on my 2 dowels? These all look so cool. I guess that's a sword. Oh, so it looks like there's a crystal around a thing here and then another thing here. Well, I've had a lot of really good luck with for making sturdy little bits, just actually making it out of wood. But if you do have a dowel there, just have the dowel go all the way. Like if this is all going to be foam, have the dowel go all the way through the sword and sandwich it between two pieces of foam. So that way it doesn't become floppy. Magnets won't, I don't think will work. I think they will pop out, but maybe not. If the dowels go deep enough, like all the way to the bottom of the handle, maybe they won't pop out. I just think like if there's any weight on this that they'll want to just fall out of the sockets. You could have kind of a screw attachment on the other side, like a bolt or something, but I don't know, maybe do a little magnet test on, like, don't make this whole thing and then try the magnet, but like try doing a magnet on a dowel kind of recess test and add a bunch of weight to it and see what happens. I am curious to see how this goes because that looks like a really cool design. All right. Yeah, the only experience I have is making a normal sword with a dowel that just went straight through the middle. I made a little tiny version of my She-Ra sword that I brought to Dragon Con, and I made it out of foam. I took video footage of it, so I'll show you guys later in a video and cool stuff. But that one is really straightforward because it was just a normal sword shape. So that one with the crystal looks pretty wacky. I'm looking forward to seeing that made though. Good luck with that. Shanisa is said that they have heard stuff about, oh, I need to make this window bigger. Seriously question thing. Oh, I have to scroll. Read some stuff saying that you have to plastic dip EVA foam to paint it, but I've also read stuff where people have just spray painted straight onto the foam. Any advice? It all depends on what you want to do with your finish on your foam. We've taken foam and just done a whole bunch of layers of like Krylon Fusion paint on it and then wet sanded it down. So then it gets a nice layer. It begins to lose flexibility when you do that. So that's why plastic dip's great. It fills in some of the textured holes and also is a very flexible rubber material. That's why we use latex recently to coat our foam for our Destiny costumes. We sprayed on the latex. That's crazy flexible, like even way more than plastic dip. We're having a lot of trouble painting it though. You're supposed to use like a rubber cement paint. We went with an Angelus leather paint and some of it's kind of rubbing off a little in some places. So we're still working on the process for that. But yeah, it all depends on what you want your armor to do. If you just need it to be rigid and be there, you don't really need to use plastic dip or anything if you already like the finish on it. The problem with just going straight to paint is if there's any bumps or cracks or crevices, they won't fill in. So the plastic dip will help fill in the crevices. You can also do Evil Ted Smith's methods. You can look up his videos on YouTube. It's just Evil Ted Smith. And he has tons of great advice for filling in like gaps in your foam and what finishes to use. I think he's done a video now with plastic dip, latex, and I think he's done one where he's gone straight to paint for working on like foam helmets and stuff. So yeah, it's one of those things where there isn't just one easy thing to work with. Oh, I should probably put my foam in there. It's probably almost too late now. Yeah. Good job me chatting away as my resin's curing. That's what I get. All right, back to work. I'm going to pour a little bit of resin onto this foam piece, even though Bill said I didn't have to because this is already kicking and I don't want the foam piece to slide around. Because I was too chatty. That's okay, because I was chatting with cool people. Let's use this one. Actually, I'm going to use some small cups. Check out these little adorable cups. These like little medical ones. I think we got these at Tap Plastic. Little bitty cups. guys are working on so many cool projects. Giant Pepakura helmet. Hope that goes well. It's very satisfying once you get to the end of a Pepakura project after you glue all the pieces together. And then you realize it's the wrong size or something and you cry. That's always fun. By always fun, I mean not really fun at all. It's one of those things, I don't know if you guys saw that we just got a 3D printer. It's this part of a whole cool thing we're going to be doing with, this is a little teaser right now, cool thing we're going to be doing with Autodesk and a 3D printer and also their free 3D software called 123D Design. We want to teach cosplayers how to use the program. And so we have a 3D printer now. And that's awesome. But one thing that, I mean, like, because we've done 3D printing before through Shapeways, one thing I will always do is if I'm doing a mask or a helmet and I am going to be 3D printing it, I will still do a low polygon Pepakura model of it first and hold it up to my face, because that's when you find out if it's the right size or not. And that saves so much time later instead of going straight to the printer. And it's like, oh, the thickness is off, or oh, this is weird part on it, or it ended up being like 5% too big or too small. It's can make a huge difference. Like when you're looking at it on the computer, you're like, oh, I'm sure that'll be the right size. And then like when you see it in person, you're like, oh man, that's way too big. So doing paper craft stuff will always be helpful to do templating, even if you do end up 3D printing it later. All right, let's move back to the more interesting camera. All right, I'm just gonna pour in a little bit on this side. Actually, which side is less? I'll pour it on this one. So we'll just go like this. I'm glad Bill's not watching this part. He'll be like, oh, you're doing it wrong, blah. This is what he gets for leaving me alone in the shop. A little bit more right there. Yep. There, poop. I can just smush that down since it won't touch anything. I have enough resin on the other side, so it won't be like touching the wrong spots. I'm just gonna pour a little bit over here. Looks so pretty. Oh, this part's all dry. All right, so I have to make sure that's sitting nicely. I'm not touching anything weird. And then let that sit for a little bit. All right. Got some kind of wound on my hand earlier today. And the minute you like get a little scrape on your hand, you touch it to everything. All of a sudden, it's like the favorite spot. I keep getting reminded. You need to probably put a Band-Aid on that little tiny scrape. Yeah. I keep whenever we talk about 3D printers, I like to use the reference of normal printers. When printers first came out, just normal like 2D paper printers, they were stupid expensive and they looked like super low quality. Like you couldn't even do images on them, and they were crazy expensive. And now, like, 3D printers are super cheap, and you can print pretty damn good looking photos with them. You can do all sorts of kind of printing with them. So just 3D printing is one of those things where, like, 10 years from now, I think they will be like way better and a lot more accessible. Like, they're already in schools now. I would have loved to have that growing up, have 3D printers there. Okay. Let's read Bill's directions. Add foam. And then he added a little bit of resin on top of that, like I did. Even though I said you don't have to do that. Oh, this thing moved. No, you stay there. Ah, that'll stop you from sliding over. Don't mind me just adding little wedgelets so this foam thing doesn't slide around. There. Okay. Cool. And then you put it together and then do 200 milliliters and another 200 milliliters. One of the things I always do is have an extra little mold set up in case I end up with too much resin. The resin doesn't go to waste. Yeah, this guy, for the District 9 rifle, Bill took we had a little mold with just one of these little canisters in it, and then I had to cast it 24 times for all the canister bits. So that was annoying. So then Bill took that 5 castings from that one mold and then remolded it so that now I can get 5 at once. So if I slap this guy together and end up with extra resin, I can just pour it in one of these guys or a couple of them, depending on how much extra I have. If I just have a teeny little bit left over, I have little nuts and bolt molds that Bill made from extra silicone. We have a whole bunch of little nuts and bolts now made out of resin. So I don't know if I should go grab one of them. I'll get this guy ready to go, though. I'll add some baby powder inside here and then clamshell him up. I've been saying wedgelets a lot from, if you've seen BattleBots, they use that term for if a BattleBot has like little protector wedges like around its wheels and stuff, or like little ramps, they call them wedgelets. So everything's a wedgelet now. I am officially a sports fan because I love BattleBots. And you all should watch it too. It should all be on Hulu at this point. It's only like 6 episodes, but it's awesome. I gotta get moving. Sorry, I just realized I put a crinkly bag right next to the microphone. And these are my rubber bands. We like to keep our 2-part molds together with rubber bands, for the smaller ones at least. Clamps give too much pressure in one spot. You don't want to squish your 2-part mold because then it will bow in. And if you don't use the clamps, enough of the clamps, then it will bow out at certain parts. You can make straps out of big elastic pieces. I know some people use like those moving strap ratcheting latches, but we have a billion of these rubber bands, so we just use these. Not actually a billion, but quite a few. I'm going to put some around the top and the bottom. This one doesn't have a lot of volume of resin going into it. The more you have of that, or the bigger the mold is, you want to add more rubber bands because there'll be more pressure on the mold. And you don't want to ooze out the bottom because it would kind of like bow out here and pour out if I only had like one rubber band on here, but I think that looks good. Okay, so this is on standby in case I end up with extra resin. Now I'm going to put this bad boy together, which should be hilarious because some random parts. Okay. Boop. Oh, look, there's a little line with holes. A, B. You think that would mean this one goes here, B. Oh, that looks like it'll work. Yeah. Yeah, you'd want these on the outside. It's just an extra strength thing. If they're on the inside, then it would just be 2 pressure points. And it looks like, I'm guessing he drilled things he didn't end up using later. Or no, those are probably normal screws. I found these gross resin-covered ones, so I'm assuming they're the ones Bill uses for this guy. We will find out if these are long enough. Yep. So with this guy, this is like the equivalent if I was using a ratchet strap thing. You want to make sure you don't put it on too tight because the same issue could happen. Developing cosplays here. Hello. Don't worry. There's no Prop Live Q&A. It's just me being silly in the shop since Bill is gallivanting around Asia PopCon. But I'm glad you made it. So yeah, I just want to make sure I don't put these on too tight. I want to squish the mold. I assume I like all these X's here. Like I changed my mind. All right. I assume I'm supposed to put bolts in here. I know there's an X there, but I think that just means he almost had the wood going in that direction and changed his mind. So developing cosplay, all that you've missed is me taking way too long to do one cast in a silicone mold. To be fair, this is a really old one, and it's one of Bill's, so I've only done one casting onto this, and I was supervised. That was like months ago. So I only barely know what I'm doing with this guy. I really hope that when I pour in the resin, it all pours out the bottom because I didn't put these on tight enough. Then everyone will laugh, and we'll all have a good time. One more. Yes, don't worry, the wedgelets are in the mold. Right. I think the goal is to screw these in so it doesn't quite bow because this stuff is like, it doesn't bend too much because this is like thin PVC foam. We make our jackets out of thicker wood stuff now. So this stuff could bend, which is no good. All right, that seems pretty good. All right, I think I'll have to use a farther away camera for this guy. Let's tilt it down. Whoop. All right. This seems all right. So I have 2 pour spouts up here. I'm just going to pick one, pour it in there, and then I'm going to tip it back and forth to make sure the resin goes all the way around. I'm doing 2 pours, so one of them should fill it up halfway. The other one should fill it all the way, hopefully. And if I end up with extra, I have a little mold standing by to pour in the extra. Aw, and Second Nature Effects is there too. So good to see all you guys. All right. So Bill's cryptic notes say 200 milliliters. So do another pour. I'll show you. This is one of the containers that has resin cured in it. So I could keep using it to mix stuff, or I could squish it a little bit and let's see. And ta-da! Popped out the little leavings, so now I have a new cup again. All right, so 100 on each side. And my part A. What do I do with my part B? That part B is suspicious looking. I know how I feel about it. I think I'll just clean the resin out of my original part B and use it. Some of these were used for expanding foam, so they had goo in them. All right, so 100 in both sides, and then I'll pour it into another cup to mix it. I went through a whole paper towel. Jeez. If I was doing a whole bunch of kit pours, I would pour a bunch of this stuff into a bigger container, so I wouldn't have to keep pouring from this guy, because you don't want to leave this open. Also, you can kind of waste some if you don't pour it right. Accidentally pour some on the table like I did earlier. You don't want to leave these exposed to the air because they can get moisture in them, and that will cause curing issues. It will make it kind of like make the resin all frothy looking. I know if you're in a really humid environment, that's a huge problem, but in Seattle, even though it does rain here a bit, you don't get a lot of humidity. So I just have to make sure to work in smaller batches and always close your containers. I mean, that's good practice anyway, because you don't accidentally tip them over. All right, so my part A and part B, I'm going to use a third container this time, which I should do every time. I know I did it differently before. So I have my third container. I'm going to put my part B in this extra container. And this is the one you want to leave tilted up for a while because you see it's still coming out. Still going. Otherwise, your ratios will be a bit off. There it goes. Okay. And then I put my tint in to the part B. I probably don't even need tint at this point because I'm just filling in the insides of the mold. I've already cast the outsides, but there's a little bit of the seam that'll be showing. So I don't want that to be bright white. Bright white seam would look weird. Oh, Venger's wondering what the purpose of the little foam insert in the mold is. For this case, it's why is this all crusty and gross? I need a new popsicle stick. The reason I put a insulation foam insert in this giant pistol is because I want it to weigh less and I want it to use less resin. So it's more affordable for me to make because I'm using less product. But it also takes longer because you're not doing one giant pour. So I guess mainly it's to make it lighter, because otherwise it's like, if you're like posing with it, it's a one-handed gun and you're holding it out here, it gets stupid heavy. So just to make it lighter, I guess is the main goal. Also kind of doing beauty coats on the inside of a 2-part mold by having it open and pouring in a little resin on each side kind of guarantees you won't get bubbles in the crevices, as opposed to having an empty mold that you just fill up. Bubbles might get in certain places. Now if bubbles get in here, they'll be stuck in the middle and no one will know they're there. Right, where is this? Make sure it's on camera. Okay. So I got my tint thoroughly mixed. And now I'm going to add part A. And I just poured it on my hand like a professional. I can't remember. I weighed it too. The last time I made one of these was a solid cast because we were in a hurry. That was the one that was auctioned off for charity. But it was, it was like noticeably heavy. I can't remember the poundage though. Whatever number I guess would be completely wrong. That's getting super warm. All right, I'm just going to pick a pour spout and pour it in there. These are tiny pour spouts. This is an older mold before we learned to always have nice big pour spouts. So this should fill it up halfway, which means I'll have a lot of extra room to kind of tilt this mold and slush it around and make sure there are no giant bubbles in there. And this is something after you get to know your mold, you'll know where the problem spots are, and I have no clue with this, so I'm just going to try and not pour resin out onto my hand. It seems to be leaking a bit. I'm going to tighten these up a bit. It's not leaking a lot, but it is leaking a tiny bit. I see where it's coming out. Just a tiny little leak. I just need to tighten the bottom bits a little bit. There. Totally professional. Yeah, Phoenix Revival noticed the seam thing. Yeah, I saw it wasn't leaking very much, so I was like, it's all right. Yeah, it's already stopped. It's probably already kicking too. I just want to, if you put too much pressure on this, it kind of like warps the handle, and I don't want to do that. Okay. I can start getting ready for the last pour. Last pour. That was a Ice Age reference. One of those quotes that never went away. Kind of dreading casting the dagger next. That mold is much older. It's like one of Bill's first molds he ever made. We have the master too. We should really just recast it. We keep saying, "Oh, we'll never make another one," and then a year later, someone's like, "I want a Marin's razor, and I'll trade you something awesome." It's like, ah, damn it. Yeah, we should just recast that dagger. I don't even know if rubber bands will fit around it. We'll find out what happens. Okay, concentrate. Need another cup. Just use that one. Oh. Yeah, an 8-pound gun blade sounds pretty heavy. It's one of those things where when you if you hold it with your hands like this, you're like, oh, that's not bad. But when you extend it with one hand, it becomes a giant lever. It's so heavy so quickly. All right. Jasper's wondering what type of mold I did for the Skyrim Dragon Priest mask. That one is a 1-part mold that was done with brush on silicone. I think we used, I don't want to get it wrong, Rebound 25? But there's a thickener you can get that you just add a little bit of thickener to the silicone and mix it up, and it becomes stupid thick. It becomes like cake batter. So like the first couple layers, you don't add that thickener to it, and you just get a really thin layer on the mask, and it's called the beauty coat. And then I brushed on the cake batter layers, and you just want to make sure that you get in all the crevices, that you don't brush in bubbles, like if there's a divot in the eye and you put the thicker silicone on top of it, that there's no air trapped in there. And the reason you use the thickener is because the silicone will just keep oozing off the mask. Actually, you know what? I think I have a Flickr album that I made for that back in the day. After I pour this, I'll find the link for you. But yeah, it was just 1-part mold, and then I did a jacket mold out of what was it? The stuff that looks like applesauce. It wasn't Freeform Air. It was something else, I think. I'll look that up after I pour this. I was proud of that, though. That was my first mold. It turned out really well just because Bill was watching most of the time. Otherwise, it would have been a disaster. It seriously usually doesn't take me that long to make things, but I am multitasking and hanging out with cool people. So thanks for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. It makes it not as lonely when Bill's away. The cats, you know, cats are just useless. Oh, that might have filled it. I'll double check. I won't pour out the rest of this into anything yet. I want to make sure there's no bubbles or anything. I think, yep, it is now. Oh, awesome. I'm going to tap it a little bit to try and get the bubbles out this time since I can't tilt this as far as I want. Ah! Well, it's a good thing I kept this extra because I just poured it over the side. Good job, me. I'm glad we all got to see that. That's all right. I have extra that I can pour in here. Whoop. There we go. Now I won't touch it anymore. So that was just enough. I swear I'm much better at molds that I have dealt with before. This thing's a monster. All right. So it's good to put like butcher paper down on your table in case you pour stuff everywhere. All right. Dragon Priest mask. Let me go grab that. There's a lot of really cool Dragon Priest masks that people have made. There's my silly one. Boop. Okay, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Let's go back in time a little bit. Aww. These are all finished ones. All right, this album sucks. Where's my, oh, there we go. Okay. So I had my, this was a 3D model that I made in Maya, and I got it 3D printed on Shapeways. And then I backed it with an oil-based clay to give it structure. It wasn't that flexible, but I didn't want it to bend at all. Also, this has been primed and sanded a whole bunch and then wet sanded to get that smooth finish because it was that 3D printed texture look. There I am pouring stuff. Make this bigger, yeah. So that's pouring the beauty coats on there. I'm kind of brushing it around to make sure it gets everywhere. You see how it kind of like pours off? So this is all wasted silicone. Oh, then it jumps right to a whole bunch of layers. I ran out of the rebound partway through, so we used a different kind of compatible silicone to finish it off, and these are all the registration keys. I probably should have made this smoother because all these little jaggedy bits make the jacket not fit as well. But it's the first one doing it. Okay, there I am using the, what is this? I assume I wrote instructions. Oh, Plastipaste, that's right. Here. I will put this in the chat so you guys can check it out. This is, I think, before. Yeah, I like how there's like a ghost rifle down here. A signed one. That was for the, oh, that's right. I was doing these for the Child's Play charity dinner. And so, yeah, that's the final mold. I'm casting it. It's very exciting. Yeah, good stuff. Okay. Nick's wondering if there's any other brands besides Smooth On that are good ones to use for product stuff. Locally, we have what's called Tap Plastics, and they're great. I mean, like the people who work there love us. They love Bill. They love seeing our progress on stuff, so Bill will bring it into the shop. When you get that kind of relationship with a local company, they tend to do business discounts. So I think Bill has one through Tap Plastics. For Smooth On, they tend to have more of the stuff that we use. So like Tap, we really like their tin cure silicone, but we really like Smooth On's resin. So it depends. Like if we get sponsored by Smooth On, we'll use their silicones. But if we need some silicone last minute for anything, we can go to Tap Plastics and get it there, and we know we'll like it. It's very reliable silicone. But there's Tap Plastics is just fun to walk around because they have giant machines that cut plastic, like sheets and sheets of plastic, and then they have a little bin of offcuts. So there's all these different kinds of plastic in this bin that you can paw through and try new things, especially if you have a laser cutter. If you use compatible materials with the laser cutter that you haven't tried before, you can learn some new cool things. Like I think they had that kind of plastic that is like 2 different colors sandwiched together. So when you laser through it, a certain color will show through if you get deep enough. So it's like used for those name tags. When you laser through, you can like have the person's name, like that kind of stuff. So I would recommend them. Tap Plastics. Valor Props is wondering if I get much spillage using big jugs of resin. Yeah, I get a little bit of stuff pouring out. If I get into a rhythm, I don't waste any of it. But if I'm doing a whole bunch of smaller things, I'll tend to take the jugs and pour a bigger part A and part B into nice big spout containers that are easier to pour from. And so then I'll just pour from them until it's gone. Just want to make sure you don't have too much exposed to the air because of moisture stuff for too long. So like use it within an hour, at least for our environment. Hot Dog PE is wondering if I know a person I don't know. Indie Mogul. Name sounds familiar. Oh, no, sorry, don't know it. Okay. I should cast a dagger right now. Let's see, what time is it? All right, well, I'll at least look at it. Oh, this mold is so ancient. You can see there's like the layers of bubbles on it. This was, I think, before we even had a degassing chamber. So there's a lot of surface bubbles on the inside. It's amazing it still works at all. And this guy I can't open yet. I want to leave it alone for as long as possible. It still feels a little warm. Hopefully there's not a disaster just waiting in there for me. All right. Boop. Oh, Jamil Forge says that they had laser cut mustaches at Dragon Con. I would have liked to get one of those. That sounds awesome. Yeah, Dragon Con was a blast. Our costumes held up well for going straight from PAX to DragonCon. The latex foam held up really well. My metallic finish on my Vex stayed a teeny bit tacky. So if I had two pieces of my costume touching each other in transit, it was a little hard to pull them apart, and I lost a little bit of paint in some areas. So I think the only thing that I didn't like about our costumes was the kind of paint we used on it, which was an Angelus leather paint. I don't know if I had to put more clear coat on it or not. I painted it all in a day. Like, I didn't have time to do any battle damage, so it got battle damage just from taking it to DragonCon. But I feel like I have a lot more to learn with that kind of finishing method. But I mean, having super flexible costumes was great at DragonCon because I could like bump into people and nothing would break. So that was awesome. Okay, this poor thing, like these teeny little bubble spout things to try and help the bubbles come out of the little pointy bits of the dagger. These don't do anything. It kind of looks like a little face though. So this is a Mehrunes Razor. It's a dagger from Skyrim. Its notable characteristic is it has, in the game, it has a chance to instantly kill someone when you attack them, I believe. Actually, I haven't played Skyrim in quite a while. There's all sorts of weird things with this mold. Bill tried to use pieces of foam to fill in the silicone, so he didn't have enough of it. So there are just these weird gaps and voids in it. But it casts up all right. He did a lot of really neat things to the master. He put a texture on the master in this part right here so that it has that kind of like mottled metal look to it. You really can't see it too well. But so once you pop it out, it's really cool. And again, with the annoying seam to clean up, this is like a ribbed handle thing, but there's no really good way to have a seam on this because this goes all the way around. So might as well just have it in the middle. So cleaning up this is a pain. It's almost like if we could have done a two-part all the way down to here and had this part be one part that you just pop the handle out of, that would be great. All right. Oh, and this little piece of silicone's about, yeah, that's just falling off. That's gone. At least with something like that, it just means there'll be a little extra resin and you can just Dremel that away. But yeah, there's a bubble right there in the silicone. So some bubbles there. Bill has learned so much over the past couple of years. I have a lot to catch up with all the stuff he's learned. And this thing's what, 3 years old? 4 years? I don't even know. I actually never used a Mehrunes Razor in game because you have to murder a person to get it. One of the gods tells you to do that. Otherwise, the dagger goes back to the museum. And I felt too bad, so I didn't kill the guy. I'm just too nice in games. All right. All right, this looks, I did the same thing with this where I put in some mold release a while ago and then wiped it out with a paper towel. So it looks pretty clean already. So I'm just gonna put some baby powder in here. I'm probably gonna try and do this all in maybe one pour. I really don't know how much resin this is gonna take though. So I'm probably not gonna have enough. In one pour, and that's fine because that'll give me room to tip it and slush it around to try and, these are huge problem spots, or sorry, these guys are problem spots because bubbles get stuck here. It pours from the top. All right. Yeah, we if we do remold Mehrunes Razor, we'll definitely do a video of it. And then compare the two to show what we've learned. By we, I mean Bill, really. He's the one who does all this stuff. I had a normal day job back when he did this. It's just going on the floor. All right. So I'm not going to do any beauty coats or anything to this. It's too thin. One of the things about this, I don't know if it's most urethane resins, but at least Smooth Cast 300 with daggers, like about this size, you don't need any kind of structure on the inside. It's super sturdy, so we don't have to put anything in there, no wires or supports or anything. It's thick enough to support itself. We even have a dagger that Bill has a mold for that has 2 big prongs on it. And those are a little bit bendy, but it has like that good, the good flexible bend, not like the, oh my gosh, I'm going to break bend to it. So even that is sturdy enough to just go to straight resin. So I'm just going to sandwich this bad boy up. Whatever happened to the original jacket, who knows, but now I just have 2 giant planks of wood. All right, now I'm gonna play the game of do rubber bands fit around this? Ugh. Yeah, that's the reason I like a lot of the Skyrim weapons, is because of the quests you go on to get them. Like Mairen's Razor, like that's a super memorable quest. It starts with a dog walking up to you, and then the dog's, wait, no. Is that the one? Or is that the other? No, I think that's one where you get the helmet. Yeah. I'm thinking of the one where you get the one of the god's helmet things. And that one starts with the talking dog. The Mairen's Razor one, I think, starts when you go into a museum and a guy has a piece of it. And he's like, hey, I want to put this dagger together for my museum. You want to go find all the pieces? And then you go on all these crazy adventures to find all the pieces. One of them you have to, I was a thief in the game, but I was kind of like one of those almost good thieves, like a little Robin Hood style. I remember, I think it was for like the pommel of the Mairen's Razor. You had to go into a guy's house and convince him, like he had to do favors for the town or something to get it from him. But I just snuck into his house at night and stole it out of his treasure chest because that was way easier. How wide is the blade at its thickest point? I don't know. Like ½ inch, maybe. It's not a really thin blade. And the tip of it ended up becoming a pour spout because the pour spout was too small. So we had hacked away at it to make the pour spout bigger. So the tip of the blade needs to be resanded to get the tip back. There's also some little spiny bits that are in a separate mold somewhere around here. I'll have to go find those that get glued onto the bottom of the handle. They're such tiny little bits. It's way easier to have a separate mold for those. Yeah, these rubber bands are going to work great. Now I get to play the guessing game of how much resin should I pour in here. I'm thinking I'm going to go with 400 milliliters. I'm feeling like doing a big batch. So 200 per side. For that one, I'll need a bigger mixing cup to pour the two together. But I have some of those. I'm going to put a couple extra rubber bands on the bottom because that's where all the weight and pressure is going to be. So excited I get to play more Kirby's Adventure tonight. I have my old Nintendo hooked up to the TV upstairs, and every once in a while I'll break out one of my old cartridges like Zelda or like Super Mario 3 is always a good one to have around for parties. But one of my favorite games I never owned, I would just steal it from my friend and keep it for months. And then eventually she got it back, so I don't actually have it. So I bought it online. It was only like with shipping, it was under $30. It's Kirby's Adventure. It's still one of the best games ever made. The music's awesome. The animations are awesome. The mechanics are really clever. Replaying it, I think one of my that rubber band is no more. I think one of my favorite parts about Kirby's Adventure is you're encouraged to kind of not rush through the level, because almost every level, I think I remember almost every level having a secret. I'm not sure if that's the case or it's just my memory, but there's usually like a secret cool thing that you can get, and the little door on the world map will change color or something, I believe. I don't know. I just started playing it again. I don't exactly remember the mechanics for the secret stuff, but Kirby's ability to get different powers and then find secret stuff using those powers, I just thought it was a really cool mechanic. And the stuff he gets in that game is adorable. Like a parasail, whatever, the umbrella thing. Or you can turn into a tire, or you can breathe fire at dudes. My favorite is always the sword, though. All right. Well, I hope that's enough. Oh, Kirby's Adventure. All right. I need a bigger cup. Where are these guys? Where do these guys go to? Yeah, it should be good. I think these are from Tap Plastic. Yeah, it says right on the bottom. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Switch over. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pour 200 milliliters on each side. That means I have to draw a new line of my cups. Oh, 200 is way up. Wow. It'll do 150 each. Yeah, we're going 150. I changed my mind. I don't want to work with too much and have it kick too fast. And if this doesn't fill the sword all the way, which I don't think it will, I'll have room to kind of tip the mold back and forth and try and get the bubbles out of those little corner parts on the dagger that are a pain. Oh my goodness. Everything's cool. It's all right. No one saw that. That was fine. All right, so we got our part A. I'm actually going to put this jug away since I don't need it right now. Want a little bit of extra working room with this really tall mold. So I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, I have part B. Boop. See you later, Avatar. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a useless thing. Don't worry, I'll at least open the Carnifex mold while I'm after I pour this guy. This one I'll probably leave for a while. And where's my tint? Oh, there it is. I'll be making this gray as well. Beep. Yeah, you guys should try out a hangout sometime. I know Bill will hop in those occasionally. So like a prop person will host it and be like, hey, I'm working on stuff. Come join the hangout. And then they'll have like 6 or so people with their cameras all set up. And you can have it set to that whoever's making noise, the camera will jump to. So if you're all kind of like quietly working a little bit, it will jump back and forth between all of you. So you can keep each other company while you're working. It's pretty cool. Or if someone's using really loud tools, they can just mute themselves. Okay. Oh, I should have poured this before I added the tint. I guess it doesn't really matter though. It's bad practice. I did it out of order. You're supposed to pour part B into the container and then add the tint there. Now I have a part B with ooze in it. It's fine. It's just tinted ooze. It would have been there anyway. Okay, here we go. Send the failure. I don't want to send a failed kit. I only want people to get good ones. That's already getting warm. So much resin to work with at once. Move to the other camera. So now you guys can all watch me pour resin all over myself, or watch it leak out the bottom again. This rubber band's being stupid. Yeah. Okay. Oh, this isn't a really good pouring cup. Cool. So most of the volume of this weapon is in the handle. The pommel is like a big sphere, and the handle is wider than the blade. So I figured that most of the resin would, like the amount I chose, what I end up with, 300 milliliters. It wouldn't be enough to fill the whole thing, and I was right. That's okay, because I want to try and get the bubbles out. And look, it's not leaking. Yay! All right. Probably another 200 maybe. I'm going to start writing this down. I know I say we'll never cast one on this mold again, but if we do, then I can write on it how much resin it actually took. So next time I don't have to guess. How long did the Matrix mold for the District 9 rifle take? Oh, Second Nature Effects one is wondering. I think 3 days, like 3 full working days, I think it took. Because we had to clay up one side. And geez, there's a video on the process. I'm just going to misquote it. Like, I don't even remember making the fiberglass jacket on it because we were like just constantly working. Like, got just enough sleep, but when we were awake, we were working on it because there was a lot of like hurry up and wait things on it. So we were working really, really fast, and then would have to let the resin, fiberglass resin, dry or cure. So, yeah. Good couple days. And that was a giant one too. It was also our first Matrix mold. Like there's a lot of things we did wrong that made it take longer. And I believe Bill's tested article kind of calls out some of that stuff. So definitely check that out. Why not duct tape the mold too? It's fine. Like, that's all you need. Duct tape, you'd have to like tape it on and cut it off. So it just needs a little bit of consistent pressure, but I also really like the elasticity of this. So duct tape doesn't stretch like rubber bands do or elastic straps. I know some people make big elastic straps with those like cinchable buckles on them. And I mean, we'll probably end up with some of those someday, but for right now, these are fine. All right. I wonder, I can probably open up my other mold now. It's probably fine. Let's do it. It'll be like Christmas. Well, I guess I should finish pouring this one first. Yeah. I should do the other side of this. I shouldn't wait too long. All right. No Christmas yet. I'm going to do another of the exact same amount, and I know I'm going to probably have extra, but I have another mold my tinier mold I can pour it into. I just want to make sure I don't have to do 3 pours. My part B looks so sad because I put the tint in there. Stupid me. It just makes it hard to read the lines. Yep. Hi, Sovereign Props. I am casting Dagger, Mehrunes Razor Dagger from Skyrim. It's in a really old mold, and it is going to a friend who wanted a copy of it. So, like, we don't sell these because the mold is sad and old and needs to be redone. But I believe it's a kit trade. So one of Bill's friends wanted the dagger, and then he's giving us one of his kits of something cool. It's how they do, how the prop makers do. All right, I'm gonna get some extra paper towels because I don't trust myself. Okay, I need a new giant cup. Oh, these are all sticky and gross. Ew. Oh, wait, these are good. I think some of these were used for fiberglass resin, so they're all like tacky on the inside. Yeah. It all depends. Like, you don't need to mold stuff if you're a cosplayer, unless you want to make copies of things. So if you're just doing one-offs, you can stick to whatever materials. You can just make like completely mixed media, like with squishy foam or MDF or any materials really. If for us, if we want to make copies of things, we do a nice hard surface master. So we don't use any kind of like EVA foam. We want to make sure it's not flexible, and then it will have a smooth surface so the silicone won't like go in crevices and stuff. A smooth, clean surface. Okay. I don't know if camera 2 is going to be that interesting. Well, let's do this. I did use baby powder, unless you're talking to someone else. Yeah, baby powder helps the resin get into all the crevices and has a really nice finish on it. It kind of prevents bubbles as well, because it kind of, I know. I'm trying to figure out the science in my head and why I use it. I don't know. Bill told me to use it, so I use it. Is usually how all the things I do in the shop, how they come about. And again, I scrape the sides because I don't want any kind of curing inhibitions. Or, I don't know. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I know we use that term a lot for silicone. The same thing can happen with resin, where part A and part B aren't mixed very well, and then they end up like a gooey mess. Especially in the sides of the container. All right, let's do this again. That's probably going to come pouring out in a little bit. Oh, there it goes. That is okay. I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to let it drip down the sides. Doesn't matter. Once that cures, it will just be a lot flashy and I can peel off. Since it's all just exposed, you can see it's kind of a little ooze is coming down here. And I have a bunch left over, but thank goodness I have, whoops, this guy already baby powdered up and put together. Some little extra bits. So let's fill up some of these guys. These are little castings for the District 9 rifle. Those little canisters at the top. This has 5 of them in here. So there's one. I should have checked the milliliter of what I had left over, but that's fine. Before I started pouring it in here. Oops. That just pours right over the rubber band. And you karate chop it. Hi-ya. It's already kicking though. So I might get some bubbles in these. We'll see what happens though. I at least tried to use it instead of just leaving it in the cup. All right, so now that guy's good. I don't think it's dripping on the table. Over. This thing's got some weight to it now, even though it has a foam insert. All right. Hope this turned out. I don't have any confidence with these molds since I don't really have experience with them. But at least I save time so Bill doesn't have to do it when he gets home. All right. One more. Just dropping these everywhere. Free yourself. Oh, there's a chunk of resin on that one. And that one. Let's set that over there for now. It's like someone poured resin on one of the bolts. I don't know who that could have been. All right. Now, I'm not trying to be like dramatic and slowly doing this for effect. This is a really old mold that has a bunch of tiny little 90-degree angle crevices that are starting to tear out of the mold. So I'm just going to try and peel away all the edges first and try and lift it up instead of peel it, because the peeling will pull out more of the silicone. It already has a bunch of torn spots on it. This guy's been through a lot. So I'll just kind of work my way around until I feel it giving. There we go. Whoop. Looks good. So the little bit of different color you see here is the different pores, because the tint, it's like impossible to match the amount of tint you put into each of your different batches. So this is one pore and this is another pore and this is slightly lighter gray, but it's all completely one piece. So you just see a little bit of a different color. There's a little bit of flashing here, which means there'll be a seam to clean up, but that's just part of the beast of this mold, because it's falling apart, doesn't match up quite as well. And also I had a little loose, although there wasn't a lot of flashing down here. So no, I think this is just from it being old, or maybe I didn't have this part tight enough, but either way, it's not that bad. It's just a little thin papery piece. All right. I think I'm going to set this on a table and try and do the same thing where I carefully peel the sides first. There we go. There's some a little bit of flashing there. A little bit around the trigger. These are the sprues. These are the little vents that were letting out some of the air, because some bubbles would get trapped here. So this vent was carved into the silicone later. Things you discover after you've made your mold, things you need to add. This is the part I was referring to that you kind of need to clean up the seam. How it would have been much better to have the two parts, have one of the parts kind of the seam go up around this way and have the seam be here instead of here. It's still pretty clean though. This doesn't feel like it weighs that much. I actually have a little scale I'll bring out. We'll see what the final total is. This is without cutting out the sprues, but that won't make that much of a difference. All right, and what is it set to? Grams? Is that pounds? This used to be our food scale. It's so gross now. £1.702. So under 2 pounds. Feels good. There's some weight back here because none of the foam was here, so it's got some good weight by the hand, but this part feels really light. So yeah, it looks pretty good. This is all the stuff that that has to be cleaned out now because the mold is so old. This is all the silicone that's been torn away. These big, I mean, at least those can be dremelled out pretty easily. So I am pleased with this. Show you more of the scale. Yeah, so holding it out like this, having it be under 2 pounds is pretty sweet. Yeah. It's really like Christmas. Yeah. This guy, it's one of Bill's favorite models from Mass Effect, which is why he had molded it. He really liked the Paladin, I think, which is the white version, but a lot of people like the Carnifex. Project Triforce came out with their own version of it, a licensed version that you can buy that's like fully painted and has lights in it and stuff. I think they discontinued them, but you can still find them around on eBay and stuff. Those are really nice. Bill got to take one of, he had one of his finished ones when he was dressed in his Commander Shepard armor at, I think it was San Diego Comic-Con a couple years ago. Project Triforce had their, I think it was their Carnifex there. And Bill got to hold them both and pose with them, and it was neat to see the differences between the two. But yeah, I like it. Yeah. All right, any more? Let's see if we're getting more questions. Wondering how I would make this armor. Okay. Danae, I believe. I don't know how to pronounce your name. I have to copy and paste. For some reason, I can't click on that link. So I will click on this. Oh, I know this armor. So this is from the Skyrim Dragonborn DLC, I think. No, wait. Is it the Dragonborn one? It's the one where you go to the island where the elves, the dark elf guys are from. Yeah, because there was the vampire expansion, and then there's the Dragonborn expansion where you go have to fight the stupid squid face guys named Mirak, I think. And this was one of the armor sets they added for that expansion. You had to go harvest all of, oh, you know what? I'm not sure if this is a crafted one or the one you go find. Either way, it's from that expansion. One of them you have to harvest the crystals and craft it, and the other one you get pieces of from a pirate's treasure. You have to go hunt them all down. But yeah, this armor is super sweet looking. Can I zoom in? To make this, I would do it just like any other kind of foam armor. So you have your different layers. And I would just do a really cool paint job on it with like glossy paints. Because it doesn't, I mean, it kind of looks like it should glow, but it doesn't glow in the game. If you want it to glow, then you would have to use something like a PETG plastic, the stuff that like soda bottles are made out of. You can get that in sheets, or you can get Warbla's new transparent art, which is like a similar kind of plastic. You can get that in rolls. You kind of like, or you can get like was it cellophane? I think it's called. It's kind of what I use for my Chandra Magic the Gathering fire hair, and you heat it up a little bit and crinkle it. But then you'd have to like add a layer of blue paint, and then the kind of transparent plastic would be attached on top of it, and the blue would shine through, and you can add lights in there if you want. Yeah, to get that kind of depth, you would have to do like a transparent layer, and add it kind of like, I mean, you treat it like how you make those little tiny gems for costumes, how you paint the back of the gem, but the gem itself is clear. So the top crinkly layer could be a clear plastic, and then you just have your cool paint job that you did underneath, and you just glue it on top. This looks like a really good challenge, though. I would do a very small test of this part, because the rest of it looks pretty straightforward, like the shape, all very normal armor. This could all be cloth. It's just, this is the one tricky part. So yeah, do some little tests on some different ways that you think it would work. Oh, the Death Brand armor. I like how I didn't know what it was called. I never pay attention to words in games. Anywho. All right. Get this guy out of the way. There's just pieces of stuff everywhere. Oh, was that your question, developing cosplay? I hope I pronounced your name right. It's hard to remember people's prop names and their real names both, because that's 2 names for every person I meet, and I'm usually bad at remembering all names. No, the resin is on here. Shows how great the art is in Skyrim, and the storylines that revolve around the art, that people still cosplay from it. The game's been out for a little while, but I still want to make costumes from it because I love it. It's just, and it's not just that it's pretty, it's the world itself that I really like. Don't mind me, I'm just like trying to squish off the resin that's on this thing. There. There it goes. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start taking the rubber bands off this and then see if it's, maybe take the top of the wood off and see if the silicone's still warm. That's usually a good indicator if it's not done curing yet, if the heat hasn't had time to dissipate. I don't want to take it out too early, and I'll have a bendy sword. I know we haven't gotten to talk about it too much on the live streams. Well, I guess Bill did when he did Q&A last week, but I had a great time at Dragon Con. I think it was my favorite one so far. I think we've gone enough years to kind of have a certain expectation and have it not feel like it's a strange new place. Hi.
Hi. Sorry.
Okay.
One of my coworkers just dropped me off, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, I think it's like especially when you go to a convention for the first time, you really aren't sure what to expect, or you don't know where everything is. You don't know like the secret passages to get places or where all the food is. And now Dragon Con kind of feels like home for us. This was our 5th one, I think. So it's comfortable to go there now. And I think I got to see just about everyone. Some people I missed, but it's, I mean, such a giant convention. But it was great to see all our prop friends. We only get to see once a year. It's like our version of Christmas, because everyone kind of schedules time off around Dragon Con and all flies out to one location to see each other. So it's awesome. And I saw lots of really cool costumes. Really creative costumes. Those are my favorites. It's still a little warm right here. Just gonna leave that for a couple more minutes. I'll open it while I'm streaming though, because I don't want to leave you guys hanging. Yeah, I know Developing Cosplay wants to go Dragon Con. I want to go to a New Zealand con. I was checking out the ones available next year. I want to get Bill out there and hopefully me too. That'd be awesome. Oh yeah. Developing Cosplay is wondering where Will is. He is moving back to LA. He's going to be working with his prop maker friends down there and making cool, awesome things. So I believe he wants to do more live streaming too. So make sure to follow WM Armory on Facebook, and on Twitch is where he does his streaming. He wants to do a lot more. He does really cool sculpting stuff and a lot of really cool masks and props. And he wants to do more live streaming of that. So definitely follow his progress, because he's going to be making some incredible stuff in the next couple of years. We are sad to lose him, but we're also happy he is going down to where his people are. And I guess we'll have to take over that part of the shop or something. I don't know. We need to know those. We need higher ceilings. So our next shop upgrade will be a new location, I think. By we, I mean I need higher ceilings. Yeah, I think our plan next year is either get invited to an Australia or a New Zealand convention, whichever one will have Bill. I know they'll be twist their arm. The Bill's a model convention guest. I'm really proud of the stuff he does, but anyway, so get invited to either Australia or New Zealand, and then when they fly Bill out, have them either fly him out early or have him leave late, and then hit up, like, so if we go to a convention in Australia, go to New Zealand and then fly out from New Zealand. So have New Zealand be like the vacation and Australia be the convention, or vice versa. Is that what we can do both? Because I mean, while you're down there, while you fly all the way across the ocean, you might as well go to both, since we've never been to either. So hopefully that will work out. Yeah, no more drive-by Wills. We need like a cutout or something, a cardboard cutout. This is the sad side with all the foam bits. We'll flip it over. Here we go. There, it's not so sad now. All right, let's see the hideously sad thing that's in here. I mean, I'm sure it'll be great. Okay. And there's the ugly sprue. I like how there's sparkles on this too. That's what happens when you use glitter in the shop. Ta-da! Looks like there was a little bit of air that got trapped in this little sprue canal, which is fine. This is a problem spot in the mold. Yeah, I don't know if you can see. Ow, this shop is too short. I don't know if you can see it. There's in the original for this, there's actually a bubble. Yeah, you can kind of see it there. That's right on the surface. So that spot always ends up lumpy. So that's fine though. I mean, that was in the master. This is the ugly sprue thing, so we just need to sand that down to get the point back. But this looks pretty good. I think putting the mold release in that first really made a difference and made it pop out pretty easily. Yeah, it looks good. There's the little bit of a different color here is just some of the dye that didn't get mixed in all the way. So that's cured. It's not tacky or gooey. It's just a little bit of the tint coloring is a little darker there. I will not try and pop those off because I want to break the tip on it. Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, there's a little bubble there, but that's in the master from the silicone. I always like the pommel. That's my favorite part. The seam is so annoying to clean up. Ugh. Looks good though. Yeah, I think I'll leave that in there just to make sure it doesn't bend. Maybe go the other way. Nope, that was the one that way. Cool. Cool. I'll just leave that in there for another 10 minutes. Just to make sure it doesn't warp at all. It is just a little bit warm. It's probably already done curing, but just in case. It's so much fun to cast in glitter, though. I've done that with some Dragon Priest masks. So instead of cold casting, you glitter cast. It's awesome. But then the sparkles get everywhere. All right. I think I am just about done. My beer is empty. I have to go get another one. So I think I'm going to end the live stream. But thank you all for hanging out. It's been nice to not have to cast things alone in my basement. So thank you for going on this magical adventure with me on this episode of Prop Live. When Bill gets back, we'll be doing more live streaming. Next week, Thursday's Prop Live Q&A will probably be at the same time. The normal time, the 5 p.m. our Pacific Daylight Time. But we want to do more just live streaming. We have a couple projects lined up that are way overdue that we'll be working on this next week to try and get them all done. So we'll keep you guys updated and let you know when we'll be live streaming. And I think Bill gets back on Monday, so we'll have more updates then. So thank you guys for all the awesome conversations and all the great questions too. I hope I answered some of them to an okay a level of detail. I don't know. I'm still learning. We're all still learning. Important thing is we keep trying, and we will all get better together. All right. I will see you guys later.